Hey everyone, welcome to another tutorial video by Reality Skewed Gamers. I'm Finity, and today we're going to go over the heroic AAT raid phase 4 with the rebels. This is a video that a lot of people have been asking me for, so I wanted to make sure I got it out now. It's taken a little bit of time, so sorry about that for those of you guys that have been waiting for it. But I put together a few slides about the phase 4 rebels, how to do the attack, what to look for. I did get a comment on my last video about trying to make it a little bit shorter, so I'm going to try and make this video a little shorter so you guys can follow it in a reasonable amount of time. Okay, so the first thing to know is who you're facing. So you don't necessarily have to read over this entire slide right here. It's from the SWGOH.gg site, so I'll be able to put the link in the video description so you guys can check it out. But in phase 4, there's going to be an AAT tank, similar to what you saw in phase 2, and you're going to also have B2 battle droids. Now, these are going to be kind of your standard B2 droids. They're not going to be like the rocket trooper in phase 3. And so the things that you have to kind of keep in mind are the abilities that will really affect you. So what I've done here is basically only put the ones that you have to really concern yourself about. The first one is going to be the incendiary shells, which is the dots that the AAT can put on you. You have to make sure you have something in order to deal with these dots whenever they show up. And there is a cooldown to it, so it's not constantly coming, but you have to make sure you're planning for it. The next is the war machine, which is the buff that you get when you topple the AAT. And there's 3 different ones: morale 1, 2, and 3. Morale 1 you'll basically get no matter what. Morale 2 you get if you destroy all 3 of the cannons within the same round of the main tank. And morale 3 is if you can survive a hit from the main cannon. I don't typically work on morale 3 very much. I'm focusing more on morale 1 and morale 2. And you'll see kind of as we go through the strategy. The other thing is his danger close. And with this, when the AAT comes out of topple, he has an airplane that kind of flies overhead, and the airplane will then hit all of your group. And if they don't have a buff, they're going to take massive damage and die instantly. So those are the 3 abilities of the AAT you need to make sure you're concerning yourself with. Then you also have the B2 battle droid. Now, the B2 battle droid has a basic ability and a unique, a special and a unique ability that you make sure that you have to worry yourself about. So, the first one is his basic ability, or his special ability. Sorry, I keep calling it a basic. His special ability, which is an AoE that can inflict ability block. So you have to make sure that you worry about the ability block. It also dispels positive status effects, which is important, but the ability block is going to be key when you're looking at your run. The next one is going to be Relentless Barrage. If you have a B2, you know what that is. It's essentially whenever another ally is attacked, and in the case of the B2 droid here, it's going to be specifically when the main AAT is attacked. So not the side cannons, it's whenever the main AAT is attacked that the B2 droid has a 50% chance to gain 100% turn meter. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at what the team is going to be. Now, already with the title, you know that this is going to be a Rebels. So the key to this is going to be Wedge. I'm putting in the main abilities that you have to kind of deal with each of your characters. For Wedge, though, is pretty much all of his abilities. So his basic, it gives defense down. It really helps to increase the damage, especially when you're in that topple. You do get armor penetration. So it's not quite as important, but in some of the other especially when the tank isn't toppled, that defense down can really help to speed up the damage that you're kind of spreading around. His AoE, the Red Squadron Strike, is going to be critical because that's going to help you determine early on whether your run is good or whether you need to retreat. His lead ability, though, the ability for your rebels to heal, is going to be critical. Because without the ability to heal, your guys are going to take damage, they're not going to be able to recover from that damage, and they're just slowly going to die. So you really need to make sure that Wedge is your lead and get that lead ability up. And lastly is his unique ability. His unique ability is good because speed is really important for this phase as well when it comes to your mods. And even Wedge's unique ability, when you tie him with Biggs, will increase both of their speeds. So the speed that you get from Wedge is really important, and Wedge is going to be your best leader for this phase with your rebels. Then you look at some of the other rebels that you'll have in this squad. You have Biggs Darklighter, and Biggs is going to be basically your main attacker. He's going to do a lot of damage for you in a single target mode. Lando is there also. Lando does more AoE, but when you're focusing on a single target, Biggs is going to be your primary damage dealer, and his call to assist is really nice too because he'll automatically call Wedge plus another ally. So that means you can get 3 people attacking in the same turn. So this ends up being really important. You get Lando. Lando has his AoE ability, which is going to help to bring down all of the cannons at the same time. But in addition, you want to make sure his crit is high because whenever he crits on 2 or more targets, so more than 1 as it states there, then it deals more damage on the next use plus the cooldown reset, which means Lando can keep on shooting his AoE, and you'll see where this becomes important. Then you have Princess Leia. Now, if you remember with the AAT, after it comes out of topple, an airstrike is going to come and do damage to all of your targets if they don't have a buff. So you have to make sure your guys are buffed. Leia is a great way to make sure that they are, because she has a unique ability where she has a 55% chance to grant all allies the critical chance up buff for 2 turns. So, because Leia is going to be attacking somewhat often, because her basic attack also has a chance to attack 2 or even 3 times, Leia is going to be able to hopefully give all of your troops critical chance up during the topple, so that when it comes out of topple, then you can keep on dealing damage and not have to use a special ability in order to buff your characters. So that's where Leia's importance comes in. And then finally, your 5th rebel is going to be Admiral Akbar. Now, this is going to be my 5th. If you've tried other squads, please let me know. Let me know what kind of success you've had with them. This is the squad that I've had the best success with. Admiral Akbar helps because his special ability to dispel all negative status effects, which helps against the incendiary shells of the AAT. And in addition, his tactical genius. Now, the tactical genius I use primarily with Lando. And the reason for that, you can do back-to-back AoEs with Lando, and that really helps to bring down those cannons within the same time period. Okay, so Admiral Akbar, not really a main damage dealer, but his specials really help for the survival of the rebels and increasing the others' damages also. So, while we're talking about the characters, let's go ahead and take a look at how I've modded my characters. Okay, so you'll see that Lando is gear 11, but Leia, Wiggs, and Admiral Akbar are all gear 10. Okay, so you don't necessarily need gear 11 in order to do decent damage. Let's start with Admiral Akbar because he's the first one on here. So with Admiral Akbar, I really worked on his survival. He's not really a very critical damage dealer. If you can get his speed up, that's great. But I want to make sure for my attacks that Admiral Akbar is going to be alive as much as possible so he can dispel those dots, he can give tactical genius, and he's not going to be the first one to die. Now, one substitution I've seen people do in this group is put Ewok Elder instead of Admiral Akbar. Ewok Elder gives turn meter with his basic attack. He also removes dots and has the chance to heal. So if you don't have Admiral Akbar and you have Ewok Elder is a good substitute in this position. Then we'll look at Lando. So you'll see that, again, for those of you that haven't watched the previous videos, I'm a free-to-play player, so a lot of this is going to be more from the free-to-play perspective. Sometimes my mods aren't all the best, but I've tried to kind of improve them as much as I can. So Lando has a lot of crit chance. Again, his special ability, when you get a crit on 2 or more characters, resets that ability. So I really like to make sure that I have that. I also got a critical damage triangle on here because when he crits, you want to make sure that you get as much damage as possible. So depending on where your mods are at, I would really focus on crit chance with Lando, and you'll see mine has a 61% chance. So in a phase like this where there's 6 targets, you may be able to reduce your crit chance and put 4 crit damage mods potentially. You might want to play around with that, but I would rather make sure I get the constant AoE crit chance, and constantly have that AoE up for Lando, because it really does help with bringing down those cannons. Next is Leia. Now Leia is going to be primarily for the against all odds ability, where she has a chance to grant allies critical chance up, and then she also can recover some of her hit points, which is nice. But her primary thing is that. The other thing, and you'll try to get this, is her rebel tactics. Now this isn't crucial for the attack necessarily, but you'll see that with her, when she stealths, she gains 25% critical hit damage for 3 turns and a chance to gain 55% offense. So that's why I have so much crit chance on Leia right now, even with the 2-dot mods. It's primarily to get her crit chance up, because I want to try, and sometimes it just doesn't work out, and you'll see when I go through the video that I'm trying to get that crit chance as high as possible. So if she's stealth when it's toppled, then she's getting a lot of extra damage with that. Okay, and then we have, let me bring up my rebels again. We have Biggs. Now Biggs is your primary damage dealer. So for Biggs, I focus really heavily on speed mods. I don't have a lot of speed mods, so again, I'm trying to make sure I have my speed mods where they're most effective. You'll see that he doesn't really have any real set bonuses. He only has the 1 health bonus, but that's because all of my other mods are really granting him some extra speed here. And so overall, his speed is now 195 without the buff from Wedge. Okay, so Biggs, because he's going to be your primary single target damage dealer, which is when you're going to be what you're going to be using when you topple the AAT, speed on Biggs is really helpful. Okay, so this is where I would focus your best speed mods. And then lastly, we have Wedge. Now, Wedge also is a little bit focused on speed, but you'll see that I have him more with crit damage right now. Crit damage primarily because when Biggs uses his call to assist, they all have a higher critical chance, critical hit chance, and I have my Wedge right now at 43% crit chance. I want to try and improve it. This is probably the mod that I'm going to be trying to replace right now. You'll see that it's only protection. I'd rather get crit chance or even crit damage on this mod. So like I was saying, I don't have all of the best mods right now, but this mod's definitely work for my Wedge, and it's gotten me well over 2% with my attacks. Okay, so what are you looking for then when you're looking at your attack to see whether or not it's starting off good? Now, there's going to be some primary RNG things to look at. Now, RNG stands for random number generator. It's what's used kind of in the coding in the background in order to determine what happens with some random variables. So with your primary RNG, these are the things that are really critical to your attack. Okay, so the first one is that Lando and Admiral Akbar in particular are not ability blocked by the B2 droid. This is going to be critical right at the start because your B2 droids are going to go somewhat early, and you want Lando and Admiral Akbar to be active so that Admiral Akbar can use his tactical genius and Lando can use back-to-back AoEs in order to bring down those cannons so you can topple faster. And you'll see that in the attack. Okay, so having Lando and Admiral Akbar not ability blocked is definitely something you want to make sure that you have. In the early phases, you'll use Wedge's AoE. When you AoE, one of the targets that's going to be hit is the main tank. So what you want to check for in terms of your RNG is that the B2 droids do not trigger Relentless Barrage, which makes B2 go earlier than you really want them to. So you want to make sure that they don't get that 100% turn meter so the rest of your characters can go, which is usually about 2 characters, depending on how your speed lines up. And the way, and just to kind of give you the numbers, if there's a 50% chance for each of the B2 droids not to get Relentless Barrage, then that means it's a 25% chance that both B2s don't get it. Which means that maybe every 1 in 4 attacks that you use with Wedge's AoE will not trigger both Relentless Barrage, which is what you're looking for. So this ability in and of itself, just trying to make sure Wedge's AoE does not trigger Relentless Barrage on either B2, is about a 25% proposition. So you'll see that this is one aspect that you may need to restart a few times for in order to kind of get that condition. The next thing is that the tank or the B2s don't kill anyone. I have had a few runs where the tank and the B2s focus fire on one character and that character dies right at the beginning. Obviously, that's not a run you want to keep. Okay, so you want to make sure that your characters are still alive and as healthy as possible going into the first topple. The next thing is the turn meter of the characters for the sequences of actions. And by that, I mean you want to make sure that you get the wedges AoE. You want to try and time it so Admiral Akbar can get his tactical genius as close to just before Lando goes as possible. So what you'll want to make sure you do is also check the turn meter of the tank in order to figure out where your characters are going to go. So watching turn meter on the tank is something that really helps with your attack. And we'll kind of go through some of the failed attacks and also the successful attack, and just so you can see kind of where the decisions can be made. And the last thing, Leia gives that critical chance up buff to all of your characters at the end of the topple. Without that, when the airstrike comes, your characters are going to die, and you want to make sure that you're checking that before the airstrike happens, because if the airstrike happens and kills all of your characters, your turn is going to your turn is going to end. Okay, so make sure you're paying attention to, of that at the end of each topple. And if you see that the airstrike is about to start and your characters don't have a buff, make sure that you force close your game so that your attack doesn't count and you can restart. Now, those are the primary ones. Those are the ones that are really going to be critical to making sure that your attack goes successfully. There are some secondary ones which aren't as important, but they're things that can help. Now, the first one may seem a little bit awkward. Biggs gets hit and gets crit. That is actually going to be helpful, because if Biggs gets crit, that means he's going to gain 100% turn meter, and when he gets 100% turn meter, he'll be able to go and deal damage at the beginning early. Now, there's a trade-off there in that if he gets crit, he's taking more damage, and so you don't want him to take more damage, but Biggs going again really helps to kind of bring down those droids early, bring down those cannons early. So this is one of those secondary RNG things where it's not crucial to your attack. If you get it, it's great. The worst thing is probably a normal attack that's unnecessary that hits Biggs, okay? But it's not any condition necessarily that you need to retreat from. So these are conditions that help, but may not be needed to retreat. These aren't going to be retreat things. The next one is Leia's basic attack and its RNG. Leia has a chance to single attack, double attack, or even triple attack. And most of the time, for me anyway, she seems to single attack. Every now and then she triple attacks. If she doesn't triple attack, it's not the end of the world. Okay, it may reduce some of your damage, but it's not going to be critical in order to get through this phase. So it's one of those things that you have to make sure that you check. And lastly, Lando gets the double crit on AoE. And so by that, I mean that if his AoE doesn't get the cooldown reset, you have to see where you are in the status of the game. If you're getting close to a topple, and for whatever reason Lando doesn't double critical, meaning that he crits on 2 or more of the targets, if the tank is about to topple, then you don't need to worry about it, because you just topple the tank. It's going to be a lot of single target attacks by Lando, and Lando should be able to come out of cooldown by the end of the topple. If, however, you still need extra AoE, and it's not going to be able to down all of the cannons enough, then you may need to consider retreating. So this one is a little bit more conditional. It could be a reason for you to retreat. It just depends on your situation in the attack. Okay, so now let's go into what I will call the restarts. Now, for the restarts, these are attacks that I retreated from because the RNG, for whatever reason, didn't work my way. And I have a few of these here, and we'll just kind of go through it. Okay, so I like putting the failed attacks just so it helps you identify what are good conditions, what are bad conditions, and these are all going to be the bad conditions. Okay, so we start off here. I focus on the B2 droids first in order to try and get it down. Everything's looking good so far. I AoE, no relentless barrage. Okay, now here I'm going to pause for a second. Now, when this condition happens, look at the B2's health. I know with my Lando, after getting some practice, that unless I'm down to kind of 1 red bar like one of those small red ticks on the B2 droid, Lando's AoE is not going to take out that B2 droid. Okay, so because of that, I attack with Leia. I could, if his health was low enough, I could attack the other B2 droid and then use Lando's AoE to take out the one on the left. Okay, so make sure you have an idea about how much damage your guys do, and that way it'll help. Okay, now, in that scenario, you saw that Lando used his AoE and it triggered Relentless Barrage. Remember that the RNG condition was Relentless Barrage with Wedge's AoE. Lando in that position for my group, after he AoE'd, B2 was going to go anyways, which means that the 100% turn meter gain was useless. Okay, so he was going to go next anyways. The Relentless Barrage really didn't change the order of my characters. So in this scenario, it's not Wedge's AoE that triggered it, it was Lando's, and because of that, there was no reason to retreat at this point. But you see that the two characters that I didn't want to get ability blocked were ability blocked. Okay, so Lando and Akbar were the ones that were ability blocked, so that means I retreat on this one. Okay, let's try another attack. Let it load here, and so we start off again kind of the same way. I always start off with the left B2 droid, it just seems to work out better for me. But again, the B2 droid is actually high on hit points. Now you see he has 1 bar, so I'm not as worried about the AoE, but B2 went early. He got Relentless Barrage, which I didn't want, but just to kind of show you the attack, and I retreat here, he also ability blocked Admiral Akbar. So there was a lot that went wrong in that one, so definitely not a run that I want to keep. Okay, so you just retreat and you start again. You have the benefit of running multiple times in order to get the RNG that you want. Okay, so don't hesitate to just restart. Okay, so starting again, left B2. Okay, we're moving along. Do the AoE, no Relentless Barrage. Okay, his hit, the B2 on the left didn't get killed. Again, like I was mentioning, I need 1 tick. But then the other B2 went and ability blocked Akbar and Lando, so that is a retreat. And you'll see that the RNG is kind of fickle. You may have to run this a few times. I usually, at least for this phase, have to retreat about 20 times or so to get a run that I'm really happy with. So it does take some time. Okay, so we're going again. We do the AoE, but now we got Relentless Barrage. And it's not a good condition, but I still kind of just to continue on. And then the other B2 went, and then ability blocked Admiral Akbar again, so definitely not a run that I want to keep. Okay, so I think this will be the last one here for the failed attacks that I just want to show you guys. So we're rolling along again, starting with the left B2. Leia actually got a triple strike, which was nice. We do the AoE, killed off the other Wedge, and then ability block on Lando. Okay, so those are all really bad conditions, okay? And those go against kind of the primary RNG things that I mentioned earlier. Now, let's go ahead and look at a good attack. Okay, so this will be a good attack, and for this, the RNG actually went relatively well. There are some points that I'll stop and kind of point out where different decisions are made, but you'll see I start off with the left, B2. Okay. Biggs was crit, so he managed to go again. Wedge did his AoE. Wedge's AoE did not trigger Relentless Barrage. Only Wedge was ability block. Everyone is going again nicely. Now, I attacked the main cannon because I know all of the hit points of the B2s will go down with Lando, so I'm starting off on the top cannon early and trying to bring it down because that one is probably the most deadliest. If it goes off, it's killing somebody. Okay, so I'm focusing on the top. Now, the reason I switched to the side is because I have Lando going and I know his AoE is about to hit. Now, in this particular sequence, and I sped up during the topple, in that particular sequence, just to stop here for a second, I didn't get Leia into stealth, so that may be something that I would have liked, but with the scenario that was present to me, it just wasn't going to happen, and I would rather get that Morale 2 buff, which gives a little bit of speed, rather than worrying too much about Leia's stealth. Okay? During your, and you see all of them have the critical chance up, during the topple I pretty much just used whatever maximum single target damage I could. Now, I'm back after the topple, focusing on the 1B2. Now, here I took a little bit of a risk. RNG could have been against me in that scenario, but luckily it wasn't. And that was, I did an AoE with Lando out of the topple, and it didn't trigger Relentless Barrage. If it triggered Relentless Barrage, it could have caused a problem. And other things to kind of keep in mind in this scenario. I'm paused right now on Admiral Akbar. The B2 droids are going to go relatively soon. You'll see that Biggs is going to be set to go next. Okay, so in this scenario, it's up to you how you want to use Tactical Genius. If you use Tactical Genius, you'll have to use it on Biggs and use his special. But you have to make sure you're kind of monitoring his special and whether or not it's up. Because if his special isn't up, then the B2s are going to dispel the Tactical Genius and you're going to have wasted that ability. Okay, so I knew my Biggs' special was up, so I used it. And it helped me to take out one of the B2s before they went. Okay, and just because Biggs got hit again, he actually managed to do more, go again. I focused on the top tank. And my Wedge's AoE, I don't think would have had the attack, the damage in order to take out that B2. But, more importantly, the main AAT tank was about to go. And if I used that AoE, the main cannon was going to drop. Meaning that for my second topple, I wouldn't get that speed buff. Now, it's not crucial to get that speed buff. But if you can, it's a nice idea to try and get it. Okay, so that's why I didn't use my Wedge's AoE ability just then, because the top tank would have been destroyed, then the main tank would have gone, and I would be ineligible to get the Morale 2 buff unless I waited for the main tank to come back. Or for the main cannon, the top one, to come back. Okay, so with that, I continue to do damage. I stealth now with Leia in order to try and get more damage when I topple. I'm trying to bring down all of these things evenly as much as possible. And I get a nice double attack by Leia to take out that side cannon. And you'll see that I get the Morale 2 again, and I'm rolling along. Okay, so far I've done more than 3% damage on this AAT. Okay, so now we're preparing to go for the third topple. Okay, so focusing on the left B2. Killed that one. Now I'm focusing on the right. Again, I saw that Lando was about to come up before the B2, so I used Tactical Genius, got 2 AoEs off, started to burn everything down. Relentless Barrage really didn't change the sequence of things too much there. Now, this is the first time I have the dots. Leia is dead. However, I'm already over 3%. So, I'm just going to keep on going here. And you'll see that the attack right now doesn't focus too much on trying to get Morale 2. It's all about just trying to get that third topple. So, I bring down, I don't want to take any more damage, so I'm going to bring down this last tank, and now I'm on to my third topple. Without Leia, and the damage that I do is going to get me close to about 4.5%. Now, let me go ahead and just stop it here for a second. Okay, so I didn't want to post damage on this attack because my guild wasn't ready yet for phase 2 or phase 4 damage yet. We have a call time for that, so I was just recording this. So I'm going to stop it here because what's going to happen now is that once I finish this attack by Biggs, okay, my Lando and my Biggs have a buff. My Wedge and my Admiral Akbar do not. The morale bonuses do not count for that airstrike. So as soon as I finish this topple, Wedge and Admiral Akbar are going to die, and Lando and Biggs are probably going to survive, but then some of the cannons are going to go and they may die also. So I didn't want to go ahead and push my luck here, but I'm already at over 4.5% on this attack. I have another attack by Wedge, which will probably do like another maybe 12k or so. And then I'll be able to just focus on the main tank. At that point, once I get out of this topple, because Wedge and Admiral Akbar are going to die, I'm just going to try and get as much damage in this last phase as possible. I'm not going to be able to do a fourth topple, and I would just use my attacks on the main tank. Okay, so that was how I do my Rebel attacks on phase 4. At a minimum, usually I get that 4%. I've gotten as high as 7% with some good RNG. Basically, the difference would be that Leia wouldn't have died at this point in my best run so far. So there is a lot of RNG to this, but remember, the goal for your guild You want to get as high as possible, but usually the gold with your guild is going to be about 2%, so you can pull your weight with the other 50 people. Okay, so if you work on your RNG and you just kind of focus on the different aspects, you should be able to get that 2%. Okay, so that's how I do my phase 4 attacks. I hope you guys liked the video and you got something out of it. Please subscribe to our channel. I'll try to put some more videos up as I get access to more different attacks. Please like the video if you found this helpful for your phase 4 attack. Leave some comments about different strategies you use also with the rebels. I know there's some other squads like clones, and I'm gonna try and see if I can get a video for that from a guildie, as I don't have full clones right now. But please leave some comments about how you use your rebels, if you use something else for your strategy. Check out our website, realityskuedgamers.blogspot.com. So follow us on Twitter. We're using Twitter more actively now, so please check us out there. And if you have any questions, please post them in the comments, or head on to the Reality Skewed Discord, Reality Skewed Gamers Discord, and the link is going to be in the description. And thanks for watching.